as we fast forward now to about 6 months ago, where I had, I'd stepped down, and now I had all this free time. I was figuring out what to do. I decided to dive into spirituality, and so I started by just kind of watching some YouTube on it and kind of piecing things together. And one of the things that I had bumped into was this chakra system, which is typically like an Eastern Europe, Eastern Asian, or like Indian kind of model. And so they've got these little different chakra points in your body. And, I had grown up, I was being very skeptical of these things. I didn't know what they were. I was also concerned about demonic influence or whatever. And what I came to understand is that it's not really that at all. It's really just kind of inner engineering. They are mapping out how your body works in a way that's very easy for you to implement it. So it's a conceptual framework. And what I've noticed is that religions, all of these religions, have different types of conceptual frameworks, and they are very good at accomplishing certain things. I would say Christianity is very, very good at building societies, healthy, functioning societies. This Indian system is very, very good at building a healthy way to approach and navigate life, like your personal life, your emotional health, right? So they're all very good at different things. I almost view all of these pieces of religion, or all of these religions, as pieces of a bigger body of knowledge, really a theory of everything, or a universal religion. And I'll be getting into that a little bit later here too. But as I started studying these different things, it really started to pop out at me. So, for example, the chakras, the way I would describe it now, let's just throw out all the mystical, don't worry about it being from a different religion. Let's pretend that you've had a long day at work and you're kind of stressed out and you've got a headache and like your chest is tight and your stomach is a little bit queasy, whatever that feeling is, and you just, you come home and everybody's excited and happy, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't handle this right now. It's just too much energy. I don't like this. So that's an example of the chakra system at work. Your energy or your focus or whatever you want to call it is centered in different areas of your body, and it's making it difficult for you to process certain types of emotions or certain types of information. Now, let's say that you get home, and instead of being overwhelmed by all these people, kids screaming and dogs barking, and it's just like, oh, it's too much stress, I can't handle it. Instead of that, let's say you get home and you go and you take a nice long shower, a hot shower, a warm bath, and you kind of just relax. And then you hop out and you grab like a little bowl of ice cream and you call a friend and you just have a great conversation where over time you're just able to kind of vent, and then you guys have this awesome conversation that gets really deep and you touch on subjects you're interested in. And by the end of all of that, you're feeling really amazing. Your chest feels like it's bursting with joy, kind of, right? And you're warm and you're compassionate. So what this actually is you're changing how you're operating, what kind of chakra you're operating out of. And these chakras are actually just nerve bundles inside of your body. And so you can actually consciously kind of move this around if you implement certain techniques, or, whether that could be meditation or that could be like a physical technique, like taking a bath and calling a friend. You can change where you're processing information out of, and it makes you very good at different types of work. When you're at work, you don't want to be talkative and loose and free. You really kind of need to squeeze down and just focus and get the work done. So these things all have a role and a function. There's no good or bad, but they're very different. And so what the chakra system does is it actually just maps out how they work differently, and it provides some guidance on what are the techniques to change how you're operating faster. And then as you start to practice it, it really becomes fairly easy to live that way. So that is one example. And one of the things I had done is I got into a little bit of weird stuff. I was like, well, I really want to study this, and I'm just going to go ahead and be crazy for a while, was the way I was thinking about it. I'm just going to dive in and just experiment with some of this stuff. So I went and I bought what are called Egyptian healing rods. Now you've got a copper and a zinc rod, and they are filled, mine, for example, are filled with amber. And so I had already been meditating for long periods of time, and what meditating, for like 1 to 2 hours sometimes. And essentially what you're doing with meditation is the same thing that you're doing with drugs. If you sit there very still and quiet and just allow, you process your thoughts, what you can do is, it's the same kind of technique as lucid dreaming. Over time, you can start to turn your body off, the same as the dissociative hallucinogen, where you can start to lose the sensation of your body. Everything becomes blurry, and you can kind of float into a different state of awareness. Now, it doesn't have all the lights and sensations that a drug experience does, and it's not nearly as reliable as a drug experience, but it is organic, it is natural, it's something that you can do, and it's something that you can become very good at over time. And you can snap into it in seconds once you get good at it. Now, what these healing rods do is they actually kind of help, they help that experience or that practice. And what I noticed with these is I was doing them for, I think, a month or two daily, and I would do it, and then I would get, at first I was getting exhausted. I'd been meditating already, but I would have to take a nap almost every time I used these things, which was really strange to me. The other thing to notice is that with all of these things, you still feel like it's just normal life. There's no flashing lights. There's no amazing change. You pick up new information. In this case, you get a little bit tired, and that's about it. But there's no like flashing lights. I thought spirituality was at some point was going to be like this amazing awakening or whatever, and it's just not that at all, as far as I can tell. The reason I got these was because I'd been also studying a ton of ancient history. And so one of the things that had popped out to me was that if you go and look at these statues, you actually see that they've got stuff in their hands here. So these people are, they are holding what we think are these Egyptian healing rods. That's what they're called. And then you actually have them in different cultures. You can see over here we've got Egyptian healing rods as well. This is from a different time period. You notice that he doesn't have a little chin strap, different hat. It kind of looks like almost a different region. And yet they're doing the same thing. And actually the technique here, they've got their left foot is forward for some reason. I don't know why. And you always have to hold one of these in a certain hand and one of these in a different hand. And so there's all these techniques that people have been studying and trying to figure out what in the world were they doing. And really the only way to figure that out is you just have to start testing things, right? You shouldn't be afraid. If you are afraid, that's your choice. But for me, I've never been afraid of doing things. I've always said, I want to go to the hardest data that I can find, and I'll determine whether it's true or not. I just need to figure it out. So that's kind of what I did. What I've discovered through this, whether it's with the chakra system, whether it's through Egyptian healing rods, whatever the case may be, is that religion, there really is a larger body of knowledge that we're not aware of, and that all of these religions feel like they're little shards, like somebody cut up a top-level body of knowledge and broke it into a bunch of little different pieces, and then all these pieces, instead of saying, hey, let's put the picture back together, let's put this puzzle together and figure out how all this stuff works, instead of doing that, what we're actually doing is we're saying, oh, Hinduism, I can't do that. Oh, Christianity, I don't want to do that, right? They're at war with each other, and they're skeptical of each other, and we don't want to talk to each other. And so this information is never able to come together and give us a clear picture of what's happening. Instead, what's happening is that we're hanging on to our little piece of it and saying, this is the way, the truth, and the light, and I'm going to hang on to this. And we're missing out on all of the other information out there that is going to tell us how our body operates and how society should operate. And so that's something that, that I've really become very keenly aware of recently. And so I want to talk a little bit now about how did that happen? Why, let's just go into a conceptual space for a little bit. If there was a top-level kind of theory of everything, then why would it get shattered and cut apart and put into different religions? And why are these religions all fighting with each other? Like, what's happening with that? Why is the world the way it is? It just seems very strange.